The Hidden Origin of Buddha, an African deity's secret. I used to think the story of Buddha was simple, an enlightened man who sat beneath a tree, achieving nirvana and spreading teachings of peace. But one night, while I was going through an old, dusty book of ancient history and myths, I stumbled upon something that would forever change my understanding of the world. The more I looked into it, the more the pieces fell into place. Something inside me shifted, and I began to believe that Buddha, the very symbol of enlightenment, might not be who history claims him to be. Could Buddha have originated from Africa? Could the widely accepted story be hiding a darker, deeper secret? It all started with an odd painting I found tucked behind a shelf. It was old, framed in dark, chipped wood. The image on the canvas was almost unrecognizable due to the damage caused by years of neglect. At first glance, it appeared to be a portrait of an African tribal elder, but there was something strange about the figure's hair. It wasn't just any hairstyle. It was a lock, an intricate, tightly wound spiral. My breath caught in my throat. I had seen that exact style before. The same hair, the same form, the very same image I had encountered countless times in statues and paintings of the Buddha. The realization hit me like a bolt of lightning. Buddha's hair, the locks that spiraled outward, weren't just an artistic choice. They were a symbol, one that had a much older and deeper origin than most would care to believe. In fact, they resembled the traditional hairstyles of many African tribes, particularly those from regions like the Yoruba people. The same spirals, the same sacred patterns. I felt a growing chill in my spine. How could this connection between the African traditions and the Buddha's hair be so precise, so deliberate? Couldn't be a coincidence. As I researched more, everything pointed to an unsettling possibility. The earliest depictions of the Buddha originated from South Asia, yes, but they were created hundreds of years after the life of an individual known as Siddhartha Gautama. So who was the Buddha, really? And where did his teachings begin? I found old texts from Africa that spoke of a deity, one who shared striking similarities with the Buddha. This deity was known as Olorun, the supreme god of the Yoruba people. Olorun was said to be a god who descended from the heavens to bring enlightenment, wisdom, and peace to the world. The symbols associated with Olorun were eerily similar to the Buddhist wheel of Dharma, the representation of cosmic order. Further investigation revealed more. The Odu Ifa, an ancient sacred text of the Yoruba people, mentioned a being whose story mirrored that of the Buddha in haunting detail. This being, like the Buddha, sought to free humanity from suffering, to help them find peace in a world full of chaos and pain. The deity was said to have walked across the earth, sharing wisdom with the people and offering enlightenment. But the strangest part was a legend that spoke of an African god who had ascended to a higher state of consciousness, much like Buddha's journey to nirvana. The similarities were overwhelming. The deeper I delved into these connections, the more unsettling the findings became. I began to notice odd patterns in history, fragments of forgotten truths buried beneath the weight of time. Every time I uncovered a new piece of evidence, I felt like I was unraveling a dangerous secret, one that the world wasn't ready to face. The final piece of the puzzle came when I visited a temple in the heart of Asia. This temple, hidden deep in the mountains, was dedicated to a figure revered by many as the Buddha. But there, in the sacred halls, I found something that made my heart race, an ancient carving of a deity, whose features were unmistakably African. The figure, with rich, dark skin and intricate hairlocks, was depicted standing in a meditative pose, similar to how Buddha is often portrayed. But beneath the peaceful expression was an unsettling detail. The eyes of the carving were not looking ahead, but were instead gazing downward, as though hiding something beneath the surface. A secret. I had to know more. In the darkness of night, I uncovered something truly shocking. Ancient African tribes, long before the story of Buddha was set in stone, had beliefs about an enlightened figure who had transcended death and who had brought sacred teachings to the people. This was not a story of a man sitting beneath a tree. This was a story of a god, perhaps even Olorun himself, who had traveled the earth, spreading wisdom across many lands. He had been revered by Africans for centuries, but for some reason, his true identity had been erased from history, only to be rewritten as the story of an Indian prince. Was this a deliberate attempt to hide his origins? To suppress the truth of where these teachings truly came from? I felt a sense of dread wash over me. The pieces fit too well, too perfectly. What if the Buddha was not just a figure born in India, but rather an African deity whose story had been adapted, transformed, and hidden beneath layers of historical revisionism? But just as I thought I was uncovering the truth, a strange event occurred. Late one night, while reading the sacred texts of the Yoruba people, my candle flickered out. The room plunged into darkness. I heard something, soft footsteps, almost imperceptible, coming from the hallway. My heart raced as the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Suddenly, a voice whispered from the shadows, so faint I could barely understand it. "You know too much." I spun around, but no one was there. The air was thick with unease, as if the very walls of my home were closing in around me. I grabbed the book and ran out of the room, my heart pounding. For weeks after that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, was watching me. I tried to tell others of what I had found, but no one believed me. The historical connections between Buddha and the African deity were too overwhelming to ignore, yet every attempt to share my discoveries was met with fear and skepticism. I was being silenced. Was I truly uncovering the secret of a lost history? Or had I stumbled into a web of hidden forces that sought to keep the world ignorant of its true origins? The more I thought about it, the more I felt the weight of ancient power pressing down on me. Buddha was not merely a symbol of peace. He was a key, one that, when turned, might unlock a terrible truth. Conclusion. As I sit here now, I can no longer ignore what I found. The connection between Buddha and an African deity, Olorun, is too strong to deny. The spiraling locks of hair, the shared symbols, the teachings that transcend cultures and borders, they point to something much greater than we understand. The truth has been buried for too long, and now, the shadows seem to whisper warnings. I don't know what will happen next, but I fear that by uncovering this secret, I've awoken something that was meant to stay hidden. Perhaps Buddha wasn't just a man who sought peace. Perhaps he was something far older, far more powerful, and far more terrifying than we can imagine.